FR4 plate. This is an aluminum plate, a fully CNC'd aluminum plate. I think this is 5053 aluminum. So it's soft, fully machined, and pretty cool. 5052, is it? You should try the new... I generally don't try new switches. You know why? Because once upon a time, when I had like decent amount of money, I would spend money on new switches. And you know what happens? I was disappointed every fucking time. My unit is all black Lovey. Just like how I like my coffee. Oh, 52H32. Okay, that's where I pulled the 3 from. Get in the hole. Get in the hole. Why were you disappointed with your switches? Because the majority of new switches, one, are really expensive, and two, end up being dog shit. This was my experience. This is why, like, I just build with Milky Top Gats. Unless, like, I'm gonna do some crazy build, then, like, I'll spend, like 3-4 months working on switches for something that actually deserves them. Is this gapped? Where's my top case? Hello? Okay. So I put it in all the holes. Got it. What's the last switch you liked? Like, most recent release? I liked creams, assuming you broke them in enough and also swapped the stems. And since creams, nothing has been good. Oh yeah, I liked SP stars, but to be fair, I can't give them a recommendation because everybody that bought them after me got totally terrible batches. So only my SP stars are good. I swapped my cream stems with PE. PE. You recommend always spring swap? Yes, you should 100% swap your strings all the fucking time. Always. Thus far, I have only tried one switch with very good stock springs, and you can't get that switch anymore, so... Always swap your springs. Yes, strings. Always swap. Always have a nice jar ready to go. And once your jar is over, always make sure you got a bag of 1,000 springs sitting around. And when your bag of 1,000 springs runs out, you want to make sure that you got another bag of 1,000 springs. And when that happens, okay, if those run out, then you have your ultimate backup, last 1,000 springs. These are all Hojin, the Korean ones, Hojin. I mean, it's not a flex, they were cheap. Like, good springs are cheap, as long as you're, like, buying a large amount. See, I had very large regrets. So I bought KBD mod springs. For those of you that may not know what KBD mod springs are, they're KMAC springs. You remember KMAC? You probably don't, but KMAC. So they were KMAC springs and they were fucking fantastic. Everybody that's tried my builds with them is like, oh my god, so good. And I bought a whole bunch of 55 gram Hojings. KBD mods. And eventually they ran out. Because they stopped doing business. The company no longer existed. I think you can still get Hojin, but they're super hard. I have 55s, 58.5s, and 62s. Should have bought the whole stock? We did. We bought 10,000 springs. So are those springs? Yeah, they're standard springs. No big memes. Are TX springs any good? Yes, TX springs are great. TX springs are good. They're very consistent and their price point is nice. How much did a 10,000 springs cost? Like 400 bucks. It was like 4 cents a spring. And they're like super nice springs as well. I guess better question is, what makes the springs so much better than stock springs? Stock springs are horribly inconsistent. So between one switch and another switch, there could be a difference of like 20 grams. And that's within the spec sheet of like Cherry and Gateron. They say like 20 grams is fine, but it's not. Because when you're typing, smoothness is important, but switch consistency is significantly more important. And if while you're typing, one feels different than the other, then your entire keyboard feels like shit. One of the best things you can do for a build is get some nice, super consistent springs in there. Gateron is plus minus 15. Yeah, well, it may as well be 20. Why do creams still need to be broken in if you're gonna leaf? What? If you're gonna leaf swap? That's a question that. What? First of all, there is no leaf swap. The minute you try to touch a leaf on an MX switch, you've broken the switch. And yes, you should be breaking in creams. And the reason why we break in any switch is because the friction smoothens it out. What's the tolerance for JWK springs? Not great. Nothing is as good as like proper springs, where you get like plus minus 1 gram. Oh, stem swap. Well, yeah, I mean, you can break them in with the new stems. You should always be breaking in with your final stems. So both your housing and your stem both get adequately broken in. I had some Sprit 72s. Okay, so Sprit, besides like the history of scamming and you shouldn't be giving this person money, his springs are okay. They're fairly consistent between switches, but please don't buy from Sprit. Please. Hola. Hola, señor. But yes, always spring swap. I am currently not spring swapping because I am breaking in. You could spring swap before you break in, but I don't want to have to open them up twice. What is the difference between short and long springs? It's fairly simple. A long spring will have preload. So by squishing it more, it requires more force to get started than a spring of like this length, for example. So if I compress something this big into this big of an area, right, then it's going to be compressed. That means it's going to have some force. So it's going to be hard to start the movement. That's basically it. Thoughts on thick thock springs? Yes, I got a bag of them, and I pulled out the first spring, and it sounded like fucking like trash compactor tier garbage. And then I pulled out the second one, and then it felt like shit. And then I pulled out the third one, and it sounded like shit. Don't buy thick thock springs. Maybe they're better now. I'm not gonna take that risk. Never again. Buy some nice TX springs. They come, they feel good, they don't sound terrible. It's great. Do I lube before or after breaking in? You always lube after breaking in, because the whole concept of breaking in is friction. And if you're going to lube it, then breaking in is going to take you 4 years instead of 3 weeks. They're not better now? Yep, okay, well, go figure. Music lit? Wait, is it over? Fuck, why is it over? Why does everybody, every time, somebody's like, oh, the music is lit, or the music is bad, it's like at the end of the song. Isn't 3 weeks still a very small amount of time to break in with normal use? Yes, it is. It is. Generally, I recommend people do 4 or 5 weeks. That's assuming 8 hours of typing per day, 5 days a week. I have methodologies for breaking in slightly faster. And no, it's not using a machine. Is there a Gateron dance redeemed? I don't believe so.